Yes, guys, hope you're doing well. Welcome to the Game Week 10 Deadline Live. I do apologise. This is going to be a bit of a quick one because I wasn't planning on doing a YouTube Live, but I thought to myself, what a good opportunity if I have a little bit of time to jump on for 20, 30 minutes and try and help anybody who needs a little bit of advice going into this Game Week 10 deadline. A reminder, it's a Friday evening deadline, not Saturday, so we can panic tonight knowing that we can rest easy over the weekend. So at the time of recording right now, we have an hour 20 until that deadline. So if you haven't clicked the button on the wildcard, I'd probably say not bother because you probably should have done it by now. But what I want to do is just be here to answer any of your questions and kind of just reveal my Game Week 10 wildcard team. I'm like 90% sure I'm locked in. There are a few decisions that I need to make based on just a bit of gut feeling. I don't think there's anything else I can really change to my team. I have a lot of players that are absolutely locked in. So it's very much a case of just three positions that is just, I either go option A, option B, or option C. There isn't really much wiggle room with the wildcard team that I'm going to show you guys. So as always, please do drop a like. It's going to be a quick stream. I'm not going to be going up until the deadline because as you guys know, I am obviously committed to doing stuff over on TikTok as well. So we'll be doing this for the next 20, 30 minutes and hopefully we can get through as many questions as possible on this stream. So please do drop a like if you want your question. If you want your question answered, if you would like to share the love. What am I on about? Right, let's get straight into it. I apologise, guys. Madrid fan, hope you're doing well. JP, thoughts on Alvarez versus Bowen? So look, Alvarez is an unbelievable option and it's a classic case right now of if you're wildcarding, you're attracted to all the other shiny toys. You want to get a piece of Watkins. You want to get all these Darwin Núñez characters. I think Alvarez is a brilliant pick, but if I had to pick one right now to be on my team, I think Bowen would be the choice. Main reason being is you're going to need Haaland and Watkins in your draft. So you'll be going for a 3-4-3 formation. And I prefer going for the Bowen option in midfield, knowing that you can downgrade to other options in the game. So for me, Bowen is better over Alvarez, but both are fantastic picks. Okay, Mitoma and Palmer or Bowen and a 4.5 million midfielder. So of that choice right now, you're obviously in a position where your 4.5 million midfielder is likely going to be a first sub. So you're probably going to be changing formation depending on those two strategies. I'd probably rather lean towards the Mitoma Palmer option, giving yourself a 5-man midfield. But if you're playing a front three and it looks really solid, then I like the Bowen 4.5 million option. Cheekster, hope you're doing well, mate. Yes, I am very well myself, thank you. Bit of a rush to get this one going, but I wanted to just try and help out as many people as possible. I don't even think I've got the settings on here even correct. I think my arm's half cut off. There we go. Right. Alex, Digne or Burn? To start this game week, I think you got to go for the upside of Digne this week. And if I was buying, I think the answer would be Digne, but we really don't know regarding the status of Moreno when he will be available. Alex, I've just answered that one, so please do stop spamming the comments. I do apologise if that came across rude. It's just a bit of a better experience for others, and hopefully that's answered your question now. DNZ, Bowen and Adinga or Palmer and Diaby and a Dinger / okay, so Bowen and a 5 million midfielder or Diaby and Gordon. I personally, and I have this decision right now, I'm leaning towards Bowen and a Dinger as the pick, or Bowen as Palmer, sorry. I just think that is a better route. You got the more expensive option in Bowen, knowing that you could downgrade to the two options that you mentioned later down the line if you want to. But again, I get it. Gordon's really good, playing for one of the best teams in the league from an XG perspective. But I think Newcastle might slowly get caught up in a bit. They've got a lot of injuries, stretched team, Champions League involvement. Maybe they will struggle eventually with the injuries to Harvey Barnes, Isak. Things like this do catch up eventually on a team. But Gordon's game time will be solid. Bowen replacement, mate, 6.3 million in the bank. Bowen replacement, I wouldn't be selling Bowen, so you have to let me know what your thoughts are on that one, mate. 6.3 million in the bank. I'll probably go all the way down to either Gordon or even further to Palmer and a Dinger if you really want to. Your doggy to Anderson or Mbeumo to Mitoma. So Mbeumo's a really interesting one. On penalties, I expect him to still do okay or tick over. Your doggy to Anderson one, I don't really like Anderson as a pick. I'd much rather you go for Guy, who's a lot cheaper, and that means you can free up funds elsewhere. We might get some early Spurs team news as well regarding your doggy, so it might just be worth holding your doggy and making the Mbeumo to Mitoma move. But, as I said, Mbeumo on penalties means that he can always be part of a haul at any point. David saying, is it worth taking a -4 hit to bring Watkins in for Alvarez? I don't like it for a -4. I know it is one of those situations where Watkins looks like an unbelievable pick, but we need to look at it from a 2-game week perspective. And yes, Villa have a great fixture this weekend and they have Forest the following one, but Alvarez has United, then Bournemouth at home, who are conceding goals for fun. So I don't think for a -4 it's necessarily worthwhile unless you literally are going to be in a position where you're going to be hating like your weekend because you don't have Watkins. And then in that situation, I think you just obviously make the move if it is going to affect you from like a not mental health perspective, but just like a, you know, state of mind. Is Newcastle's defender still essential? No, I don't think it's essential, especially someone like a Trippier. I think Trippier is the best defender in the game, but it also comes down to what do the funds do elsewhere for your team? And for that reason, I don't think a Newcastle defender is essential, especially with the injuries that they have. While Botman's out the team, yes, they've done well with Lascelles at centre-back, but I don't think that they are essential as what they once were with the fixtures coming up. Now, I'm going to continue to answer all of these questions, so please do fire them off in the chat. But I thought this is a good opportunity just for me to pop up my Game Week 10 wildcard and show you what my deliberation is right now. So here we go. I do apologise. I usually have nice graphics and stuff, but I just didn't have time. So I've done a screen share for my team on the site that you can see here. So hopefully you guys can see that clearly. Please do let me know in the chat if you do not have good kind of... If it doesn't look good on your screens, then let me know and I'll try and adjust it. So this is what I've settled on right now. I can't lie, I'm not that happy with a Game Week 10 wildcard. I thought I was, and to be honest with you, if I show you my team that I had last week, just to show you why I've wildcarded, I would love to keep Trippier, obviously, but I had double Man United. I had, so basically what I didn't have Watkins, I had no Arsenal, I had no Liverpool, and I was in a position where if I had only a few fires, I wouldn't have wildcarded. But because I didn't have Salah, Saka, Watkins, those three alone kind of forced my hand to wildcard. So I don't actually like the wildcard in Game Week 10. It is worth noting. I just felt like it was a position where if I didn't wildcard, I had no real easy way to get Salah, Saka and all these players. And the gap between me and those that have wildcarded is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So I think I've settled on this. Areola in goal combination with Strakosha. I just need to free up some funds, so I'm happy with that selection. Areola is more than happy to start throughout this period because if you see the fixtures here, Everton, Brentford, Forest, Burnley, Palace, Spurs, amazing long-term fixtures. Yes, we got a little bit of a problem around this area, but end of the day, sometimes the tougher fixtures are the ones where they get their hauls, and I don't really see any goalkeeper really standing up and being the obvious pick. So Areola long-term is absolutely fine in this team with Strakosha as the backup. Moving into defenders, Gabriel, Cash and Shimikas have been locked in since day one of activating the wildcard. I had money built up in Cash. I bought Shimikas a little bit earlier. And Gabriel is just an obvious pick at 4.7 million into that Arsenal defence. Now, Taylor is another one that's locked in at 3.9 million. The structure of my team, I haven't got too much team value, so I need to make cuts where I can. So Taylor is in. So the last spot is up for grabs right now. So Guy is currently in, and the reason why Guy is in is because he rotates quite well with my other defenders. So for example, I would bench Guy in Game Week 10, but I've put a little bit of a list here. Game Week 11, I would bench Gabriel away against Newcastle, and I can start Guy away against Burnley, which is okay. Then I would bench Guy in Game Week 12 at home against Everton, just because my other defenders have such fantastic fixtures, it is worth noting. Then in Game Week 13, I would start Guy with his good fixture away against Luton, while other players have tougher fixtures. So he rotates quite well in this team. He's 4.5 million. He's absolutely locked in. Now, the other player that I am considering right now is Harry Maguire. Please do not laugh at the back there. The main reason being he's 4.2 million and it frees up more funds for my team. The reason why I'm currently not going for Maguire is because even if I downgrade to Maguire, the money in the bank doesn't give me what I want. So, for example, I thought I could be in a situation where maybe if I downgraded Guy to Maguire, I could upgrade Palmer to maybe a Gordon. It doesn't enable me to do that. And because of that reason, and Harry Maguire is not opening any doors for my team, I think just going for Guy is the better option. And I can always downgrade to a cheaper pick if I want to later down the line. Midfield, Son, Saka, Bowen, Salah, pretty much locked into my team. There was a little bit of a deliberation regarding Son, but a lot of people have kind of spoke to me in the chat and have said, what are you doing? You got to go Son because you can simply downgrade to Maddison later down the line. And I kind of get that understanding. Bowen was one that I was deliberating, but looking at the fixtures coming up, very difficult to ignore right now. Everton, Brentford, Forest, Burnley, Palace, they're so damn good, the fixtures long term. And we know that he is a little bit of a talisman in this team. So while he remains fit, he is going to be in this wildcard team. The big deliberation right now is Palmer. Palmer was locked in until we had the news regarding Solly March's injury and obviously the other injury to Welbeck. It's made Adingra at Brighton a viable option at 0.5% owned and the same price as Palmer at 5 million. Now, do I think Adingra is going to get rotated from time to time? Absolutely, because he's under De Zerbi's reign. But I do think it gives you an entry point into that Brighton attack. So looking at their fixtures coming up for Brighton and why we are considering them, let me just get up Adingra here just so you've got his stuff. So we started the last two, which is really good news. And the fixtures long-term, Fulham, Everton, Sheffield United, Forest, Chelsea, Brentford, Burnley. Amazing long-term fixtures. The big problem is we don't know whether Adingra is going to start week in, week out. Cole Palmer, one would argue, is also a risk. And this is the problem with the Wildcard 10 draft. There has not been a single player that I've put in Palmer's position that I have been content with. I'm not as bullish on Palmer as other FPL managers. I'm a Chelsea fan. I think Palmer is definitely in the starting 11 right now. But I definitely see a situation where maybe Chelsea need to deploy runners in the team and he may easily play Sterling off the right and Mudryk off the left with Jackson down the middle. I think Palmer brings a lot of control to the team, but there are going to be situations where the game doesn't need that control off on the right flank and it needs a bit more chaos. And that is going to mean the likes of Sterling, Mudryk, Madueke is going to get minutes in this Chelsea team. So while I think Palmer is a good pick for game week 10, long term, I'm not as bullish as other FPL managers, but he's in right now just because I can't afford any other viable option. And up front, Watkins, Haaland are just absolute locks in this team. And I've gone for Mabama as a cheap forward. I'm not expecting to play him ever because I have Guy and Taylor as starters in the team. But he could go to Archer if I want to upgrade that position, but I'd rather have the money in the bank. So that is a quick cover off of my Game Week 10 wildcard draft. As I said, do I love it? Not really. Do I regret pulling the wildcard? No, because my team was really struggling to get Watkins, Salah and Saka in it. So I'm happy I made the move. I'm not happy with the team, but hopefully they can surprise me. So let's get back into the questions and answer anything that you guys have asked. Start two out of Shimmercast, Neto and Burn. Of the two, you definitely start Shimmercast 100%. So it comes down to Neto versus Burn. And let me just remind myself of the fixtures. I'd go for probably Neto and just chase the Neto returns. Hey Nash, I hope you're well. Palmer or Adingra? This is where I'm currently at right now. I'm currently leaning towards Cole Palmer just because he's on penalties. Otherwise, I think Adingra is a fantastic alternative at 0.5% owned. Realistically, when we look at the Brighton team, let's just get this up a minute. Just to give you an idea on who could actually play on that right-hand side, because we need to remember the way that Brighton kind of use their team. They go for a double pivot. They'll have Matoma off the left most likely. They'll then play number 10 alongside a forward or two kind of nines, and then they'll play a right winger, usually one that actually is able to hog the touchline and give them width in the game of what Solly March does so well. So looking at the players that actually could play, need to note Solly March's injury is the reason why Adingra is an option for fantasy. Matoma isn't competition for Adingra because he plays off the left. Pascal Gross isn't a competition. Adingra, obviously the player we're discussing. Gilmour, a centre mid, so isn't competition. Ansu Fati is an interesting one. A lot of people think that he was coming in to play on the right wing, but where he actually is being deployed is in that number 10 role behind the forward. So we either see Fati and João Pedro together in a two. We've seen situations where Fati is behind Ferguson and vice versa. Now, Ansu Fati definitely is one that can play off the right, but he is a lot more versatile. Dahu, a centre mid, and Ciso injured. Milner, absolutely not. Lallana, no. Baliba, a centre mid. So Buonanotte could play, but we haven't really seen any minutes from him this season, so I don't think he's direct competition. Last up, we have Ferguson and João Pedro. Ferguson isn't an impact to Adingra on that right side. So the only other player that is competition is João Pedro. And we haven't really seen him play on the right side of the 3 or 4 attackers. So Looking at this right now, I think the only players that can actually displace Adingra from that right-hand role is going to be Ansu Fati, who gets deployed as that right-hand side, or the introduction of Buonanotte on that right side. And the more I look at it, the more I think to myself, we could just see Adingra get some significant minutes over this time. Now, could we see him get rotated from time to time? Absolutely. But looking at the fixtures, if you said to me, he starts against Fulham, comes off the bench, starts, come off the bench, that's probably good enough. Because when we look at Cole Palmer's fixtures, yes, he's on penalties, but I look at it and think, brilliant game week 10 fixture. I think he could do well then. But then Spurs, Man City, Newcastle, tough old fixtures over that period. I'm not expecting a hat full of goals from Chelsea. Then they have Brighton, which could be anything. I think that's probably a goal fest there. Then United. So I think Cole Palmer is probably more of a minutes lock, but I think Adingra has the upside right now, and maybe I'm going to convince myself to go for Adingra and have a bit of a upside chasing team rather than Cole Palmer. But let me know your thoughts in the chat, guys. I know a lot of people are asking it right now, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put this in the chat. Who would you rather own, Palmer or Adingra? I think it's Adingra. Apologies if I spelt that wrong for anybody. Anybody who actually cares. Adingra. Just put that in the chat, guys. Please do let me know on that one who you would go for. It'd be really helpful for those that are asking, because I think it's quite a popular question right now. So fingers crossed you guys can let me know which one you'd actually opt for on that one. Right, let's try and answer some more questions, guys. As I said, I do have to nip off a little bit early to jump on a TikTok live, but of course I would try and answer as much as possible. Matoma or Diaby? I'd actually lean towards Matoma right now. Main reason being is I think you probably already have Watkins, so I prefer the combination of Matoma plus Watkins rather than double Aston Villa, even though it's such a great fixture at home against Luton, as we already know. Alexander saying, hey Nacho, hope you're doing well, mate. Option A, Rashford and Foden and Trippier to Salah, Gordon, Shimikas. Or B, Rashford, Botman to Saka and Shimikas. I prefer... What are you gaining? Salah, Gordon, Shimikas, Saka. Oh, I love the thought of you getting Mo Salah. It is worth noting. I think the three that you are selling are actually worth selling. So I actually would go for the first option. I think I'll go for the first option as long as it is only a -4. If it's a -8, I wouldn't consider it. Diaby down to Matoma. If you had Diaby, I absolutely would keep him because he's at home against Luton end of the day. A brilliant fixture. Keep your doggy or take a -4 for Gabriel. I'd probably just take the risk and play your doggy. But it is worth noting, keep yourself active on socials on the way up to the deadline, because we might get some early Spurs team news. And if your doggy is confirmed to be playing, you absolutely want to keep him for that fixture, who Palace are quite a low scoring team, it is worth noting. Rowan saying, what do you think of Pau Torres as a Villa defence option? I can't afford cash or Digne. Absolutely fine. I think Pau Torres is pretty locked in for minutes, so I think he is a brilliant option for those team. I apologise, guys. I realise I'm conscious of time, so what I'm going to have to quickly do is just amend this so that we have got it as only people who are subscribers can ask. I think it's already set like that, is it? Anyone subscribers? I think it's already set. Okay, that's fine. God, a lot of busy chat, which is really good. Thank you so much. I know as always, if you can drop a like, it'd be massively appreciated. Right, let's answer some more questions. Would you not get Nkunku coming back would affect Palmer? Absolutely. I think that's definitely a consideration. Obviously, Nkunku coming back, massive for the game. I'm a Chelsea fan, buzzing for Nkunku to be back in this team. But I think Nkunku's a while away. It's worth noting. Pochettino's interview, people think that he's close to returning to the team. He actually means he's close to returning to full training. And that means that I think it's going to be the back end of November, start of December. So no worry about him coming into the team right now. It's going to be closer to December when he actually integrates part of the squad. So he hasn't even started full training yet, which is worth noting. Immortal Technique, hope you're doing well, mate. Jay, always a help on these late calls. Glad I could help. Hope it helps. Caden, should I take a -4 from Maddison to Saka? No, I don't like it for a -4. If it was free, I would consider it, not for a -4 at all. Ferguson, Solanke and Nketiah, basically 6.4 million for a forward. Look, I think the way you need to look at it right now is this. I think Nketiah is actually the more exciting pick. I wouldn't go Ferguson. I don't even know if he's part of Brighton's starting 11 right now. They didn't play him in a key Europa League fixture. Does that mean he's benched longer term? Potentially. I think Solanke is the safe pick for minutes and penalties, but Nketiah is a risky pick, but damn, he is exciting with that Jesus injury. But you need to know you're going to need to sell Nketiah maybe in 3 game weeks time. So if you have a strategy of doing Nketiah for 3 game weeks and then getting rid of him, I quite like that. Saka or Salah captaincy. For those who are asking questions regarding captaincy, the way I'd rank him right now is I probably would say Salah number 1. I'd probably just have Watkins number 2 because I think he's pretty good for game time. And then I would have Saka number 3 with Haaland number 4. That's probably the way that I would rank him right now. Hey Nacho, Son and Gordon, Neto or Maddison and Bowen. I would probably go for, of that bunch, Son and Gordon. I would go for Son and Gordon because I really do think that Son is the better option. And also going for Son means that you can downgrade to Maddison if you want to later down the line. So for that reason, I'd rather go for Son knowing that you can come down to any option in the game. News on your doggy, nothing right now, but hopefully we'll get something closer to the deadline. Just trying to see if there is any chat in here. Gordon or Solanke for this game week? I'd probably say Gordon because I think Gordon's game time is pretty locked in with the injuries that Newcastle sustained to Isak and obviously Harvey Barnes long term. Why not do Mitoma and Mbeumo instead of Bowen and Palmer? It's mainly just because I'm so bullish on Bowen as an FPL option long term. Looking at the fixtures of Bowen, you can see here Everton, Brentford, Forest and Burnley. That is like one of the best runs that you can have right now, I do think. And then even after that, Palace, Spurs, Fulham, Wolves. Great long-term fixtures. And look at the underlying numbers for him here. Yeah, he didn't post anything against Villa, but they were absolutely woeful. And against Newcastle. But after that, his goal involvement's been pretty good throughout the season. Yes, I could downgrade Bowen and get myself 2. But what I like about Bowen is that I can have him knowing I can downgrade to a cheaper option. Or if we were to get a situation where an Arsenal asset becomes absolutely just locked in, I need to own, what I could do, and it's something I haven't even considered right now, is potentially upgrading Bowen to an Arsenal midfielder. Now, it's worth noting, I don't have the cash right now to get myself up to a Martinelli, but I could shoehorn him into this team if I wanted to by maybe downgrading Guy down to a Man United defender like our slabhead Maguire, and then it gives me enough money to do Martinelli in the team instead of him. And I'll tell you what, that looks very, very tempting. I haven't even thought about that right now. And let's say I actually get tempted to go for a Dingra. Let's just say. Well, this has thrown a spanner in the works. This has thrown a spanner in the works. Because that looks good. That looks very, very good right now. Guys, in the chat, I've just scrolled down a minute to the most recent one. Can you quickly fire off in the chat? Yes or no? Do you prefer that? Or just put yes in the chat if you think that that right now on your screen is better than my current draft, which would be Bowen instead of Martinelli, Palmer instead of Adingra, and Guy instead of Maguire. You can't go without Bowen, Thomas is saying, which, yeah, I have made a valid case for Bowen, but Martinelli could be the one. Madrid fans saying yes. No Mini Creek saying yes. A lot of yeses. Thomas has said twice, so he's on it. He really doesn't believe in it. Yes, no, guys, you're not helping at all right now. Too many yeses and nos. I thought this would be quite definitive. This is close. This is close right now in terms of which one to go for. Can't go without Bowen. I don't like double Arsenal. I know, I do get that. But look at the fixtures for Arsenal. Sheffield United. Yes, Arsenal's bad, but Burnley, Brentford, Wolves. Damien, hope you're doing well. Would Douglas Luiz be a good signing as a third Aston Villa player? Would Douglas Luiz be good at signing as a third Aston Villa player? I'm going to say no. Now, the reason why I say that is because a lot of Douglas Luiz's goal involvement has come from penalties. And We're not really seeing Douglas Luiz get involved in terms of non-pen expected goals. I don't expect him to continue the goal scoring trend that we've seen so far. Is he good for Luton at home? Absolutely. And he could be a great enabler. But for me, I don't think Douglas Luiz has a high ceiling, even though it is a little bit counterintuitive. It's a little bit kind of, I don't know what the word is, but when you look at his returns, 15, 10, 8, good returns. But do I expect him to continue with the underlying numbers that he's got? Probably not. So I'm going to say no on that one. But yeah, very tempting, very tempting. And for those that have voted on the chat, it's actually swung the other way now. You have 52% have said Palmer's a better pick than Adingra. So it's going to come right down to the wire for me on that one. But for those that jumped into the chat, as I said, unfortunately, this is going to be a really quick live stream because I do have to jump onto a TikTok live up until the deadline. So if anyone does go on TikTok, you can check me out on there where I will be answering questions up until the deadline. And of course, if we do get any early Spurs team news, it's worth noting. Thank you so much for tuning into this live stream. I'm going to quickly answer. I'm going to do a quick 2-minute fire through everything here. Jack, do you think I should stick with Almiron? If not, who should I get with 7 million? If I had 7 million available, I would either consider going with Almiron because of the injuries. I expect Almiron to start. Otherwise, at 7 million, I'll be very tempted by Mitoma. It is worth noting because of those Brighton fixtures. Yes, Saka have wildcarded. This is my current draft. I'm pretty much locked in. The only deliberation I have is whether I go for Palmer or Adingra at Brighton. And after looking at the options that Brighton have, I'm very tempted by Adingra right now. It is worth noting. Toby, no Haaland draft. Do I play Darwin or Alvarez? I would probably go for Alvarez. I know Darwin is an absolute monster, but I just don't know if he is going to start for you. Mbeumo to Mitoma, I don't mind it, but Mbeumo being on penalties is a big factor. It is worth noting. But Mitoma, you can't really argue against him with those fixtures that he has coming up. C5 Cricket, who are we doing well? Love your content. Alvarez, Watkins, or your doggy for bench? I would bench your doggy. I think I would be starting both of those players that you mentioned over your doggy every day of the week. Sammy, play Lascelles off the bench for triple Newcastle defence or Sarr for triple Spurs midfield. I'll go for triple Newcastle. I don't expect anything from Sarr in that triple, in that midfield at all. Odegaard and Martinelli or Maddison to Saka. Odegaard to Saka feels way too sideways. I'd actually just roll this week with Odegaard and Maddison, to be honest with you. Right, guys, I really do apologise, but we are going to have to wrap it up there because I'm conscious that I haven't jumped onto TikTok and I need to do that because I promised a lot of people. So thank you so much for tuning into this live stream. If you can, drop a like on your way. I'd be massively appreciated. Honestly, there are so many amazing content creators right now live. So please do jump into their streams and ask them any questions. I'm sure they can help you out if they are not busy themselves. But it's worth noting, they are a lot bigger than myself in terms of the amount of people. So unfortunately, it might be tough to get your questions answered. But if you do want it answered, you can always jump over to the TikTok stream that I'll be doing now. Get involved. It isn't just for kids. It is worth noting. There are adults on TikTok as well. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm just going to check right now because I did have a goal of hitting 11K before the game week deadline. No, 10,833. So I can just say a massive thank you for those that have obviously subscribed to the channel. If you're not already a subscriber right now, please do consider doing so. Getting so close to 11K, it'd be sick to hit it before maybe the game week 11 deadline. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Go check out my most recent videos if you are looking for inspiration going into this week. And I will see you guys in the next video. Have an amazing day, a great game week, and we'll talk very soon. Cheers, guys.